Well, I think the golden age for education is tomorrow. I say that because I think there's such a massive change in education at the moment. Before, in education, we were totally consumed with teaching. You know, there's a body of knowledge that had to be transmitted across to the the student. Now we're much more concerned about learning, and there's a real difference because teaching is something which gets done to you. Learning is something which you acquire for yourself. And so it's very much a change from the transmission model, if you like, to a constructivist model where a person is building and constructing their own knowledge base themselves. And of course we see this in things like flipped learning, where the normal activities that were done at school is flipped to the home. So you get homework, like go home and learn about calculus. And come back to school and tell us how you got on with that. And that's because, of course, they've got access to these massive MOOCs, these massive online courses, and these great knowledge engines. And so they can get all the knowledge in the world that they like. And so I think tomorrow is going to be the golden time for learning and education. It really will be. Oh, well, I think one of the biggest mistakes, and it certainly was a topic of my own doctoral research, the biggest mistake I think we've made is to nail down and hobble education to what normal children normally do normally. Everything's normal. We were into the mean median mode mantra, mean median mode. And so what we did was people like Piaget and Inhelder and all these child developmental theorists would analyse what children would normally do at a certain age, and then we'd structure all of our lessons around what a normal children could do. And we never ever explored what a child could do if they were taught differently and brilliantly in a new way. And you need somebody like Montessori to come along and say, hey, you know what? We can actually advance the normally expected development of a child in this particular area by 5 or 6 years if we taught them this way. And I think we have been far too hobbled by these developmental theorists and in awe of what a normal child should do, instead of, hey, you know, if you do this, let's try it. And you could blow apart these developmental theorists and their straight-jacketed norms, which we seem to be teaching to in our schools far too much. Yeah, I think it's a false dichotomy. You can either teach life skills or you can teach academia. I've got to tell you, a decent after-dinner conversation requires a certain amount of mental gymnastics, and you know, if you're intelligent and well-read and can reason well, that it's going to be a brilliant conversation, after the Peking duck or whatever. And it's a false dichotomy, and I think teaching life skills can sometimes embrace things which are of a very, very academic nature, and indeed there are many things of an academic nature that can be associated with life skills. For example, the maths involved in running a car, the finances involved in running a car. There's a whole lot of things that I think can be associated with both worlds. Yes, I think I get worried as an educator about experts coming into the school, that have usually become billionaires by the time they're 14 or something like that, and had their 17th startup company, go on to be a raging success by the time they're 15. It really does need to be challenged, this idea of if you can dream it, you can do it, And so my students, they start dreaming that they're floating around in a 60-foot yacht, lighting cigars, with a smouldering $100 bill, and bathing in a jacuzzi full of Perrier water or Moët Chandon, and they can dream it, and then they wake up and they go, whoa, it hasn't happened, and And many of them get discouraged. And indeed, depression is the fastest growing ailment amongst young people today. And much of it, I think, is about the high expectations that are placed upon them. And of course, this is exacerbated by the advertising industry, with people with perfect bodies and, you know, perfect careers and perfect partners and all this sort of stuff, you know. And the reality is we've actually got to interrupt that and say, listen, you know, the price of hard work has to be paid. And, you know, if you're wanting excellence in something, then, you know, the mantra these days is 10,000 hours, you know, 10,000 hours to develop a degree of fluency and expertise. And we want things in a hurry. We complain when we wait. We're parked in the waiting bay at Macca's and we have to wait for 1 minute and 15 seconds for our Big Mac, you know. We're not very good at waiting, but some of the best things in life, you often have to wait for them and work for them.